Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. Welcome back to my home. Welcome back to Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. It's that time of the year again. It's time to start our seeds inside, indoors, in our seed starting trays. In today's video, I am going to share with you 13 seed starting mistakes which you must avoid for maximal seed germination as well as seedling growth. How many of us have spent the money on seeds, spent all this time, energy and effort sowing our seeds and our seed starting trays, come to find out weeks later that we have limited to no germination of our seedlings? How upsetting, how frustrating is that? I totally understand, you guys. Been there, done it. So over the years of gardening, I have come to realize all these seed starting mistakes. Not only have I realized them, I've acknowledged them. And I once and for all stopped making these mistakes. And in today's video, I'm going to share these mistakes with you so you can be as successful as you can possibly be when it comes to home gardening, as well as starting seeds inside, indoors, in your seed starting trays. For those of you looking for that online gardening channel, which offers tips, tricks, easy yet proven gardening advice to take your home gardens to the next level. Don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around with me today. Start with going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. If you are enjoying the content of my garden videos, if you find my gardening videos to be useful, helpful, informative, don't forget to click the bell icon as well. YouTube will send you notifications every single time I'll upload a new gardening video. Now let's get gardening. So let's start from the very beginning. Let's start from the basic. Many of you might be wondering and asking, why should I start my seedlings from seeds? Why not wait till the weather warms up? Go to a garden center or a nursery and buy ready to plant transplants. First and foremost, by starting your seedlings inside from seed in seed starting trays, by doing so, you are getting a head start. So instead of waiting for that warm weather to come around and start to sow then and there, you are not going to end up with large enough transplants to pop into your home garden. So by starting now, early on in the gardening process, you are getting that head start. Your seedlings will be large enough, will be mature enough, just in time when the warm weather will come, and you'll be fully 100% ready to pop those seedlings into the soil of your home garden. What is another reason why you should start growing your crops from seeds inside in seed starting trays? That reason is save yourself some money, guys. The cost of mature transplants in garden centers, in nurseries, even in big box plant stores has gone up tremendously over the last few years. One measly transplant can cost you as much as $5, $6, even $8. Why waste that money, guys? You can spend $2, $3, $4 on an entire seed packet, which comes with as many as 50 to 100 seeds. Can you imagine how many transplants you can get from one seed packet? You would save yourself so much money, guys. And third, last but definitely not least reason, guys, to start your crops from seed is just pure pleasure of growing your own crops. Imagine starting with one tiny little seed the day you sow it, watching it germinate and grow into a mature seedling, having that beautiful large transplant, planting it in your home garden, and then having to harvest all those delicious, juicy, homegrown crops. So without any further ado, let's get into that first seed starting mistake, which you, my fellow home gardeners, must avoid at all costs. So that seed starting mistake number one is using the wrong soil or the wrong starting mix. Many of us beginner home gardeners think that we're going to save ourselves money, that we're going to economize by using plain old gardening soil from our home garden. We come in here with a shovel, dig up some of that gardening mix or raised bed soil mix and use that to start our seeds inside indoors. No and no and no, guys. You should always use starting mix, which is specifically designed and formulated for starting and growing seeds inside indoors in seed starting trays. This is just one example, guys. This is by Jiffy. It's a natural organic seed starting mix. You could see that it's made out of peat moss, coconut coir, as well as vermiculite. It is sterile, clean, airy, fluffy, and well draining. Also, it's packed with nutrients that your seedlings need to sprout, to grow. You don't know what your garden soil or your raised bed soil has in it. You don't know how much bacteria it has in it. You don't know how many nutrients it has in it. You don't know if it has mold, fungus, or insects and pests. You'd never ever want to bring any bacteria nor pests inside your home. So always use correct seed starting mix when growing your seeds inside indoors in seed starting trays. If you cannot, for whatever reason, afford to purchase such a mix, you can make your own, guys. It's very easy. You can use peat moss or coconut coir, 2 to 3 parts peat moss, coconut coir, and 1 part vermiculite for moisture retention. You can also mix in a bit, a tablespoonful of slow release vegetable fertilizer. If you're not sure how much nutrients that seed starting mix that you're making will have. But either way, never go that route by using outdoor gardening soil when starting your seeds inside indoors. And let's move on to that mistake number 2. And what is that mistake? That mistake is either starting too early or too late. So how do you know when is the correct time to start sowing your seeds inside indoors in your seed starting trays? It is very easy, guys. It's all about going back to your last anticipated frost date. So how do you know when is that date? What is that date? It's super easy, guys. You go online to almanac.com, the website. You type in your zip code where you live, and it's going to give you that last anticipated frost date for that year, for that zip code in which you live. If you start your seedlings too early, they're going to grow and get too big and outgrow their cells or their seed starting containers. And yet the temperatures might still be too cold outside for you to transplant them. So you might lose mature transplants at that point. So what happens? The opposite end, if you start them too late. What is the mistake in that? The mistake in that is your seedlings can take their time to germinate, to grow, to become large enough for you to transplant into your garden. So say those warm temperatures are here, but your seedlings are tiny. They're not strong enough. They're not mature enough that you cannot yet transplant them. Otherwise, you will sacrifice them by transplanting them too early when they're not strong, not mature enough. So that perfect timing is crucial when it comes to starting your seeds inside indoors in seed starting trays. So what is that sweet spot? What is that perfect timing to start your seeds inside indoors in seed starting trays? So for your cool weather loving crops, such as our onions, our brassicas, even our cool loving herbs, you should start them 12 to 15 weeks prior to a last anticipated frost date. For your warm weather crops, what are examples of those? Tomatoes, peppers, zucchini, eggplants. 8 to 10 weeks prior to your last anticipated frost date. Now, those quick germinating herbs, quick germinating crops, such as our cucumbers or our beans, what is that sweet spot? 6 to 8 weeks prior to the last anticipated frost date. What is that seed starting mistake number 3, guys? That mistake is planting your seeds too deep into the seed starting mix. If you plant your seed too deep, how is that a problem? Why is that a problem? That seed is still a seed, guys. Imagine all that seed starting mix that would be on top of it, covering it. It needs so much energy to push through it, to start to germinate and to grow. You do not want to suffocate your seed too deep in the seed starting tray in that cell. So what is the rule of thumb? You should always plant your seed twice the depth of the seed diameter. So you always look at the sizing of the seed, which will vary. So the size of the brassica seed is absolutely tiny. It's almost like a pepper speck versus a size of a bean seed, which is much larger, or a pumpkin seed. So the depth should be twice the size of the seed's diameter. Plus, if you're going to plant your seed too deep, it's not going to get that light source that it needs in order to germinate and to grow. It needs to be that close to the surface in order to get that light source that it needs, that amount of light that it needs in order to germinate and to grow. What is that seed starting mistake number 4, which we must avoid at all costs? Underwatering or overwatering our seeds and or seedlings. How is that a problem, guys? If we don't water our seeds or seedlings or underwater them, guys, they will not germinate for us, period. Seeds need moisture in order to germinate and to grow. Say you got preoccupied and you forgot to water them and the soil got too dry. You're going to end up with either very low germination or no germination rate whatsoever. So on the opposite end, what happens if we overwater our seedlings? We can cause our seedlings, our seeds to rot underneath the seed starting mix, or we can end up with fungal or bacterial disease within our soil starting mix by collecting all that moisture in there. Hence, we're going to end up with insects problems such as fungus gnats, which love and look for that fungus to chew on. So how much watering should we give our seedlings? No more than what your cell can absorb in 30 to 60 minutes. Any additional water, any excess water, we would dump out into a sink. What is that seed starting mistake number 5, guys? That mistake is ignoring temperature needs. Different crops germinate at different temperatures. Some crops, such as our warm weather crops, need temperatures of about 75 degrees Fahrenheit in order to germinate and to grow. Cooler weather crops need lower temperatures in order to germinate and to grow. Anywhere between 65 to say 70 degrees would be plenty for cool weather loving crops. So what can you do if you cannot provide those perfect temperatures for them? You might need to invest in a heating mat. Heating mat will give you that extra boost of heat that your seeds and seedlings will need to germinate and to grow. So always be very mindful at what crops you're growing from seed. Always know what ideal temperatures do that crop prefers, and always adjust that temperature as needed. What is that seed starting mistake number 6? That mistake is insufficient light. Many of us beginner gardeners think that by placing our seed starting tray on a windowsill of a south-facing window will be plenty. No, guys, 90+% of the time that is not the case. If your seedlings will start to grow, will germinate from that seed, they're going to need a lot of direct, strong light. At least 8+ hours a day of direct light. If you do not give your seedling that light, you're going to end up with spindly, weak seedlings. I always recommend purchasing a seed starting light. This light is specifically formulated for gardening purposes, for seed starting purposes. Now, how close should the light source be to your seedlings? No more than 2 to 3 inches above your seedling. If you keep it too high, say like so, guess what, guys? You're doing the same thing as you would do if you placed your seed starting tray on a windowsill. The light has to be no more than 3 inches above your seedlings. You can get various seed starting grow lights. I got mine on Amazon, guys. It was very affordable, and I'm going to link it in the comment section below for those of you who are interested. But even big box stores such as Home Depot or Lowe's carry grow lights, plant grow lights, especially now when they started to get all of their spring seeds into stock. So you could check out big box stores as well. What is that seed starting mistake number 7, guys? You should always pre-moisten your seed starting mix prior to placing it in the cells and prior to placing the seed in it. So when you take your seed starting mix out of the bag, it is very, very dry, very, very fluffy, and very, very airy. Also, it is very hydrophobic. What does hydrophobic mean? It means that it's going to attempt to repel any moisture, any water that you initially tried to put into it. It's going to create these air pockets when you start to add water into it initially. You're going to see that pocket of water sit on top of your seed starting mix the first 15 to 30 minutes. And you do not want to have any air pockets in your seed starting mix. So always thoroughly pre-moisten your seed starting mix prior to adding any seeds into your cell. What is that seed starting mistake number 8, guys? That mistake is watering your seedlings or your seed starting tray directly overhead. We never want to water our seed starting trays overhead with a watering can. Always look at the spout of your watering can. Look at the sizing of the head, guys. Imagine pouring the water directly on top of the cells. Not are you risking displacing that tiny little seedling. You're risking splashing some of your seed starting mix out. You're also risking pushing your seed over to the side. Imagine you spend all that time getting that perfect center position of your seed in your cell. And then by pouring directly over the cell, you are pushing that seed over to the side against the wall. So it will not grow in the perfect spot, and it will not grow perfectly strong and straight as you need it to grow. So how do you water? I always recommend using a solid tray below your seed starting tray. And the best way to water is to pour the water inside that solid plastic tray and allowing the water to sit there anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes. 60 minutes is the maximal time limit. Whatever your seedlings do not absorb from the bottom through their roots, anything that remains inside the solid plastic tray must be dumped out into a sink, because you never want to let your weak, your baby seedlings, they're still babies, guys. You never want to let them sit in the excess moisture. Oh, again, you will cause that rot, you will cause that bacteria and fungus to form, and you will be attracting insects and pests into your home. What is that seed starting mistake number 9? Plant like with like. What do I mean with that? You should always look at the crop's growth habits, light requirements as well as temperature requirements. You do not want to plant crops that have opposite germination rates, that have opposite light requirements. You do not want to plant crops together, say one that can germinate in as little as 2 days and another that can take up to 2 weeks to germinate. You also do not want to plant crops that have different temperature requirements together either. Say one crop can germinate in a temp as little as 65 degrees Fahrenheit and another that needs 75 degrees and above to germinate. So always consider those growth habits of the crops which you're planting and growing. What is that seed starting mistake number 10? That is not thinning out our seedlings in time. Most of us place more than a single seed in each of the cells, ending up with multiple seedlings in each cell. So once they sprout, once they germinate and start to grow, you should be leaving only one seedling per cell. So how do you thin your seedlings? You can either pinch off the top, meaning the foliage of the seedling. When the seedling is little, once you pinch off those leaves, that foliage, that seedling will no longer be viable. You can use your hands or tweezers and gently pull out the seedling out of the seed starting mix altogether. Or say you have empty cells where nothing has germinated. So what can you do? You can gently remove additional seedlings from other cells and move them to that empty cell where nothing has germinated from the get-go. What is that seed mistake number 11, guys? It's soil contact. Once you pre-moisten your seed starting mix inside your cell, and once you place that tiny little seed into that cell, you should always make sure to use your finger to give that seed a light tap. You don't want to shove that seed in too deep, but you do want to make sure that that seed will have direct contact below as well as above. So moving on, guys, what is that seed starting mistake number 12? That is too many seeds. When we buy a seed packet from a reputable company, those seeds almost all the time have a very high germination rate, 99% or above. So there's absolutely no reason to place 3, 4, 5 seeds per seed cells. 2 seeds per seed cell is more than plenty, guys. What I like to do is I like to alternate. So in one row, I will place 1 seed per cell, and in the next row, I will place 2 seeds per cell, just in case. But no need to overseed, guys, because imagine all of them will come up, all of them will germinate. What are you going to do then? You do not want to end up ripping out 4 seedlings and throwing them out. That is such a waste of time and such a waste of money, guys. What is that seed starting mistake number 13, guys? That mistake is leaving your heating mat underneath your seed starting tray for too long. So heating mats up the temperature by 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So you should always be aware of what the temperature is at in that room where you're growing your seedlings. Say the temperature is 65 degrees Fahrenheit. By placing your seedlings on that heat mat, you're going to increase that temperature 10 degrees more, making it 75. So what happens if you leave that heat mat under your seedlings for way too long? You're going to sacrifice you're growing seedlings. Your seedlings will become weaker, more thin, and more spindly. So be mindful, be aware of those temperatures, and pull those heating mats when appropriate. This is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here in my home garden in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. In today's video, I gave you not one, not two, not even 10, but 13 seed starting mistakes which you must avoid if you want to have the most successful germination and growing rate of your seedlings. If you have enjoyed the content of today's video, if you found today's video to be helpful, useful, informative, don't be shy, guys. Show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. Leave your comments in the comments section as well, guys. I personally read each and every single one of your comments and respond to each and every single one of you. For those of you who haven't yet subscribed to my gardening channel, Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, what are you waiting for, guys? Super easy for you to do, super pleasing and rewarding to me. Plus, it's super easy. Go below this video and click the subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell icon as well if you want YouTube to send you notifications every single time I'll upload a new garden video. Be healthy, guys. Happy. Be well. Each and every single one of you. And happy gardening, guys. And I'll see you again in my new upcoming garden videos. Bye, guys.